What's going on, guys? This is Kaisha. Welcome back. So we're back with another video. So in this video we're going to cover OCG Metagame Tier List post WPP 2024, or the World Premiere Pack that was released last Saturday. And of course this will be post October 2024 limit regulation. So this is the new ban list, and we do have S, A, B, C, and D tiers here, and we're going to cover each deck on every tier and give my insight and reasoning why they are there on that place. So without further much ado, let's start. So kicking off first on the D tier, we do have Zodiac. So Zodiac was recently buffed by the ban list with the unbanning of Zodiac Trident. It enabled the deck to be more comfortable going first. You are going to end on Trident, and it provides a pop, and also you can play around Maxi effectively by just passing on Trident when your opponent throws a Maxi or Fuaros to you, no? You're just going to end on Trident, giving them only one or two draws at maximum. So very decent deck around Maxi, but I believe the deck lost traction on the previous days, especially on the weekend, on those Saturday and Sunday and even Friday, because on the first 2 days of the ban list from Monday to Wednesday, it has massive numbers, and you cannot blame people, no, because they are very excited to play the Zodiac with the Trident coming back. So people have tested out the deck and they have gotten results on the first few days, but later on the numbers diminish, and it just fell short on the new tier list video of mine in this current list. So overall, I think Zodiac is still a balanced deck. You can play around Max effectively, and also you can go second comfortably with the Zeus, and you can also dictate what gameplay you want to do on your deck, because you can play floodgates, you can play controlling trap cards like Solemns, no, and you can also be able to go second with things like Droplet, no, Dark Ruler no more, and just swipe them out with Zeus coming from the Borbo direct attack. So I think Zodiac is decent, but it is not strong enough right now to compete against the other decks in this S to C tiers. Moving on, next we do have True Draco. So this is also recently buffed by the ban list with the unbanning of Masterpiece, and they have gotten a massive support for that, and I do believe that True Draco is one of the best control decks that you can play right now. You're able to stun the opponent, limit their special summon, limit their extra deck, and stun them with Floodgate and powerful trap cards. So this is a really phenomenal deck, especially when you can go first and just dominate everyone once you're in a comfortable position to control the match. But the problem is going second, of course. You don't have much tools in the going second, and on top of that, you don't have extra deck to rely on. So you don't have access towards the Little Knight or other removals like access code talker, no? So you're going to rely on your engine and also non-engine, but most of your non-engines are trap cards and continuous spell or trap cards. So you're going to struggle going second. That's why you're going to rely on something like Dark Ruler No More or Forbidden Droplet to do the magic for you going second. But yeah, all in all, I think True Draco is still solid. It just didn't so much numbers right now. But I firmly believe that many people in Southeast Asia are picking up the deck and playing True Draco because it is one of the best budget decks that you can play right now. And next would be Unchained Fin Smith. I was really flabbergasted when I saw that much numbers of Unchained Fin Smith in the previous report, because Unchained as a deck doesn't really uh, compromise or evaluate against the better decks right now, like Snake Eyes, for example. Even though the deck is butchered by the ban list, it is still better than Unchained. But the Finsmith, it gives you resiliency and rooms for facilitation to make the Finsmith line, and also empower your Finsmith synergy with the Fin monsters on your Unchained archetype. So it is really strong in a sense that it can break boards effectively, and also has a very powerful going first. And even though you lost Beatrice, no, you can still end on hiking and just negate special summon against your opponent. So it is still pretty solid right now. It is not really crazy in numbers, but I believe it has a spot in this meta. And next would be Centurion. So it is pretty much divided. people are still coping with Centurion Fin Smith, and some have settled with the pure version. I believe the pure version is better because you have more rooms for hand traps and also floodgates like the Clockdown, Fissure, and other powerful trap like Solemn Judgment and Solemn Strike. So I really think that the pure version is better. But for some reason, people are still playing the Finsmith variant, and it doesn't stop from that. They're mixing the likes of White Woods or Toy Box and something like RDA or Resonator, no? So yeah, it's pretty divided. It probably depends on how the pilot would want to play the Centurion, whether it is mid-range or control or very combo-ish. But yeah, I think the pure version is the best right now. But overall, I think Centurion is very decent. Lots of room for non-engines, and you're also able to play floodgates in this deck. So you're going to stun most of the decks when you're going first, and you also have a lot of rooms to slot in your main deck when post game 2 and 3. You have a lot of room for board breakers and other high impact hand traps. Next would be Runic. So Runic, it definitely disappointed me because I really think that Runic should be higher than this on this tier list. But for some reason, people have stopped topping with Runic. I believe people are still playing Runic because there's a bunch of Runic on the tournament reports on the matchup preview of the tournament results. But it doesn't top that much right now. Even though it is a very safe deck, very reliable, very linear, and the most safest deck out there would be probably Runic. But yeah, I do believe that people have been more respectful towards the back row. They are playing Cosmic Cyclone now. They're even playing the Heavy Storm and also the Evenly Match. And Lightning Storm was at R3 right now. So there are a bunch of options to out the Floodgate. And also Evenly Match is very much played on everyone's side deck. So people have now bullets to answer the Runic matchup. Unlike before, they have dropped the Cosmics, the Heavy Storm, the Lightning Storm, the Evenly Match in replacement of 6 going first cards on their sideboard. So now they have more rooms for back row wipe and answers. That's why Runic have fell short on the previous week post ban list. Next, moving on the C tier, you do have Branded. Oh my goodness, Branded is really good. I can definitely vouch for that because even though they are pretty low on our list, there's a bunch of Branded in all over Asia. Taiwan, China, South Korea, Japan, and even in Southeast Asia, in the Philippines, in our country, there's a bunch of branded players that are doing really well in this format. And that would stem down towards the innate gas of the deck. Imagine you're supported from 2021 to 2024. Ridiculous numbers of support that you have gotten all over the previous sets. And also diverse archetypes of the branded dogmatical lore, no? So you have plethora of options to play and maximize on your deck. And also, Konami have even buffed the branded right now with opening going back into 2. So it is more better than ever. But yeah, sometimes you really lack that extra consistency against the best decks out there. But when we are talking about gas, explosiveness, and resiliency, I think Branded is definitely top notch. And moving on, we do have Labyrinth. So this is one of the rising decks to observe right now. Even though Labyrinth was disappointing on the previous formats and other decks are just flat out better than them. Right now, they have more rooms to shine because the format is much more slower. The best deck ends on multitudes of negations and interruptions and pop effects, but it is nowhere near against the Prime Snake Eyes or Prime Ubel. It doesn't compare on that regard. So Labyrinth has now more rooms to maneuver in a slower tempo format, and they can shine because of the trap variants of the deck, and you're also able to play more hand traps in your main deck. So the deck is very flexible, but sometimes it really lags behind on pace and speed given that you're a control deck. But when the hands are right for you and you have drawn the correct cards to use against the matchup, and also you have built the deck to answer the environment that you are playing. I think that Labyrinth is one of the most versatile decks to pick up right now. Next, moving on, we do have Rescue Ace as a Mina Fin Smith. So we are now entering the territories of the previous best decks. So with Rescue Ace, they have been here in the meta since 2023 or late 2022. They have been really solid. It has been a long time since they have been a meta deck, and they're still here, no? Because of the game 1 procedures of Rescue Ace, it is very strong on game 1 because you are able to set up 4. Imagine that 4 back row on your disposal, and your opponent doesn't have HFD, they don't have Heavy Storm, they don't have Cosmic Cyclone. They're pretty bold if they can play evenly match on main deck, no? So they don't have answers on your back row. And on top of that, you are supported with Azamina, Omni Negate, Threats, and Finsmith, Link Climbing potential, and also the extensions that Finsmith and Azamina offers for your deck is also really good. So yeah, if I were to match up against Rescue Ace, I really don't want to count out the deck right now, especially the format is still unsolved and there's a lot of rooms for innovations and also adjustments to make in this early October. And moving on, we do have Fire King Sinful Spoils as a Mina. So this was really good back in the day when Fire King was just recently introduced as a structure deck. And now they are still coping on the C tier, no? On some weeks they really look phenomenal, but on some weeks they look very lackluster. They're just lagging behind on the comparison against the Snake Eyes because they have a lot of bricks. Yeah, Ponix, Garunix, all of those can be bricks when you don't have the proper hand to play them, and also the Snake Eyes has more rooms for hand traps and non-engines, so that's it. But Farking, when played in the hands of right pilot, I believe this deck is really phenomenal. I think the resiliency that it offers from the Fire King cards and also the added layer of interruptions and playthrough from the Fire King is also a thing to consider. But right now, they are just sticking in this meta on the middle of the pack. And moving on next, this is the biggest surprise that I have seen this first format of October with the Sky Striker going back into the metagame. To be honest, I don't really know why. But when I carefully look on the deck list of Sky Striker, it it is just very vast. That is the proper term to describe that. It is very vast. You could see Sky Striker with Azamina, and you could also see Sky Striker going first, and you could also see Sky Striker going second. So it allows the expertise of pilot to be merged into the deck to make the deck uh, in sync with your intent on how you want to play the game and what is the philosophy behind your gameplay on this deck. This is very versatile. You have a lot of room for innovation, adjustments, and also tech cards and really unconventional setup on this deck. So it is like a toolbox deck. It is not even a deck. It is like a toolbox deck that has draw engine and also consistent boards. No, so I believe this deck is really strong right now, especially when the pilot is really skilled. This is really strong on the hands of the right pilot. Sky Striker is a deck that really depends on the skill level of the pilot. If the pilot is really good, the deck will plummet into higher levels of game. And that's what Sky Striker is dangerous for. They're really adaptive and their ceiling is not defined in a volume, and also they're very unpredictable. I think they can surprise the format right now if people will invest into the deck and play more Sky Striker and innovate the deck more, make a more standardized list. I think Sky Striker has the potential to be even greater than Tenpai Dragon or even Voiceless Voice in this B tier. But for now, the deck have seen uptake, but it is not higher than C tier for me at the very moment. Next, moving on towards the B tier, another surprise was the Tenpai Dragon. Tenpai Dragon used to be very shaky in terms of the representations on weeks, sometimes it really shows massive numbers, but on some weeks they look diluted and very out of touch. But right now, Tenpai Dragon was able to perform because of the non-engines and also the Fuaros. Even though Maxi was semi-limited, they still have Purulia and Fuaros to just answer everything in this metagame. Imagine dropping Fuaros or Maxi against Blue Eyes. That's massive for Tenpai Dragon. And Tenpai Dragon is a deck that is just very unorthodox. Yeah, that's the proper term because you don't really see decks going second. And the name of the game of Tenpai Dragon was just to OTK, So it is hit or miss. Once you have drawn the hand traps, the board breakers, it's either you destroy your opponent or you get destroyed. That's basically coin flip at this point on this Tenpai Dragon, and it is also one of the biggest threats for the format right now, with a deck like Tenpai Dragon being able to answer everything and have answers against different various boards right now. They have answers towards the Malice, the Rizil, the Voiceless Voice, the Memento, no? So it is really dangerous to play against Tenpai Dragon. Even though Chundra is at R1, no? You cannot cancel out the deck that early. Especially people are still inclined on making Tenpai Dragon better. Next would be Voiceless Voice. If you want to just play in the format and you don't know what to play, I think Voiceless Voice is the perfect deck for you. It is very resilient, very streamlined. It also has coverage for protection. You also have negates on your board, and you also have multiple ways of interrupting your opponent with negate summon and also destroy, So very balanced deck. I believe Voices Voice is one of the better designed decks. It is really strong, but it is not overly adjusted or overly tuned to the point that it would dominate everyone. It's just a perfect example of a balanced deck right now. I think this is what mid-range deck looks like in the correct spectrum, because we have seen mid-range like Snake Eyes before, no? And other mid-range decks from before was really obnoxious. But Voices Voice is a very demure deck. I believe that's the correct term for that. It is very balanced, and I don't think that banlist will suddenly nerf the Voices Voice, even though they would stick on B tier. Next would be Memento. So if you are an avid follower of my channel, you would know that I am not the biggest fan of Memento, because it is very inconsistent in terms of showing results, because this is very dicey. On some weeks they have massive numbers, but most of the time they don't have the numbers to back it up. That's why I'm not really sold on Memento. But when we consider that they can be able to sweep even the likes of Malice and Blue Eyes in large tournaments, they're able to outgas, outtempo, outhustle, and outresilient every top tier deck in this meta. And I think that's the biggest asset of Mementotlan right now. It is very unpredictable, and you're also able to play Mementotlan in various ways. You could play it 50. I have seen decklists that didn't even play Ash or Cross out. They're just trying to bank on the gas of the deck. And also, you could play the Mementotlan in a mid-range manner with the hand traps and floodgates. So this is really good right now. I think if you want to invest on a deck that can compete but also can stay sleeper or unnoticed, I think Mementotlan is the right deck for you. Next would be Snake Eyes as a main of Fin Smith. Oh my goodness. I am really detached when I saw Snake Eyes performing really well. It is even on the top 5 of my list, no? Imagine that, with Wanted going into 1, Poplar going into 1, Ash going into 1, Witch going into 1, Finsmith Engraver going into 1. Oh my goodness. It is like the modern tier laments, no? It doesn't stop. Yeah, it just doesn't stop. People are still finding ways to play Snake Eyes, and we have seen the latest iterations of Snake Eyes with the Magician's Souls, Chicken Game, and even the likes of playing Horus and other engines like Adventure or something. It is really early to say that Snake Eyes is dead. I also got that impression when I saw Poplar going to 1 and also the Engraver going into 1. I do believe that Snake Eyes was doomed on that hits, but I was proven wrong. And people are still coping and getting results on top of that in the Snake Eyes. So I'm very excited to see whether Snake Eyes could be a top 3 best deck and reclaim their spot as the one of the best decks in the format, or it is just people trying to forcefully make Snake Eyes and push a narrative that the deck is not dead. So let's see. The format is still very early, so we are still going to see whether the Snake Eyes will continue to perform or they will just vanish out of nowhere. Next would be Blue Eyes. So Blue Eyes is still the third best deck for me, even though their numbers was lowered. Yeah, I believe the Blue Eyes numbers have lowered compared to the previous weeks of SD47, the previous 2 weeks probably. But last week, they have fallen short compared to the likes of Malice and Ryzil. And their numbers are still okay. It is still decent, but it is not as populated as the previous 2 weeks of SD47. Maybe people are now knowledgeable around the matchup. They know the choke points. They know how to navigate the board of Blue Eyes, even though it is ridiculously strong, no? With Magia, with Spirit, and everything. But yeah, Blue Eyes as a deck will be played in every local tournaments because the deck is Blue Eyes. Imagine that it is a dual monster archetype and it is Kaiba's pet deck. So people will still invest on the deck. But the contrary is it is expensive to play Blue Eyes right now with the Crimson and Cypher or Sephir, I believe. It is very expensive to play. That's why I think the Blue Eyes numbers will not really rise that much because of those really expensive uh, gateways against the deck. Next would be Malice. I believe Malice is the sole A tier right now because it is in a different category than the rest. It is not better than Ryzil, but it is better than everyone else. Yeah, that's why Malice is on A tier, sole A tier. They are one step behind against Ryzil because of Wars and Purulia and the Maxi. That's why they don't really combat and overtake the Ryzel right now because Ryzel is more balanced and can play around Max more effectively. But Malice is in a different level against the rest. The explosiveness, the resiliency, and also the consistency is unparalleled compared to the other decks B tier below. But I believe Malice is a deck that is still unexplored. Even though the deck is more streamlined now and more standardized, I think Malice still has that room, that unexplored room to be still ventured and also to be explored by more uh, proficient players with the deck. And it is not still solved considering that the extra deck varies a lot from week to week and also the untrap options on the deck also varies as well. So yeah, we could definitely be more observant on Malice whether people will create that really solidified decklist for Malice for people to be more inclined and invested for the Malice. But right now it is also expensive and I don't really expect people to just hop in into the deck without that much testing on their own, no. So Malice definitely is a tier A deck and it is the second best deck by a long mile. And yeah, moving on towards the Ryzil, do I have to explain more, no? Ryzil is Ryzil, it is the best out of the rest. And it is even better that people are experimenting Ryzil in more consistent manner. They are trying to make the Ryzil like a modern Sword Soul. Yeah, I believe that's the correct way to put it in a vacuum because Ryzil offers great consistency. You have like 14 starters and also you have rooms like Tenpai Dragon for non-engines and floodgates. And you're also going to be very linear and also very simple. It is not complex. I have played Dryzil and I instantly got the idea and philosophy to play Ryzil. So many people are going to be able to understand the deck very easily and very quickly. And I do believe that's the biggest selling point of Ryzil. It is just very simple, very effective, and people would want that simpleness and effectiveness now because you don't really need to think too much on this deck, and on prolonged periods of tournament your mind is much more stress free than for someone like playing Memento or Malice. So it is also a huge factor on selecting the deck, and Ryzil definitely outclasses everyone in this draft with the sheer consistency and overall volume of interruptions that you're able to make in a very minuscule amount of hand cards and resources. So yeah, that sums up our OCG metagame tier list for post WPP 2024 of October ban list. So if you found this video informative and helpful, please consider subscribing into my YouTube channel. It definitely motivates me a lot to keep providing this content and yeah, upload more videos like this. So thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.